complete for me. Columbia, this is... Houston, AOS, over.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the TKW Podcast. I am Anthony Corbo. I am joined, as I am most weeks, by Kyle Maggio.
What's going on, everyone?
That's at Kyle Maggio on Twitter. Also joining us on this episode, we got Bryan Gibberman.
Yanks dropping 2 of 3 to the Orioles to start the season. What a shame.
It's not good.
Haven't the Mets won like 2 straighter to get things going?
Did they win today too?
I have no idea. I haven't watched a single pitch of baseball. I'm here just to taunt Kyle anytime the Yankees don't do something good.
Wow, now you recognize what it's like for me and the NFL.
No, they lost today, but it was 6-5. They're still playing really good to start the year. I'm happy to see that.
Before we get into things tonight, just a reminder to go follow all of us on Twitter. You can follow me at Corbo Anthony along with my co-host. You can follow the Knicks Wall at TKW Podcast. Head over to the knickswall.com. Make sure that you're checking out all of our articles there, all of our great coverage from our fantastic staff. We have, subscribe to us on YouTube. Please give us the subscribe and the 5 stars on iTunes. Before we get into tonight's episode, just want to quickly address the shocking, just abhorrent allegations made against Kristaps Porzingis. There is an allegation of rape that has been charged against him, or that's been alleged against him, from someone in his building they used to live with. There's some hush money involved. Apparently, that this attack came allegedly after the game where he tore his ACL, and then Porzingis went home that night. There's video of him for later on that night, and then anything after that point is unknown. But the story is still obviously developing. It is just disgusting if true. We don't have much more to say about it here, but make sure you're following us on the Knicks Wall. Reed Goldsmith is constantly updating an article on this as more details come out. So for more coverage on this, head to the site. I know Mark Berman has it covered, and just generally, the Post staff who broke it. I think Tina Moore was the one who broke it. Yeah. More details coming out about that. For now, we're going to turn our attention to the Knicks Heat matchup from Saturday, which started off really, really encouraging. And I mean, that first half was great, and they slowed down towards the second half. There was obviously a lot in the air with the Dwayne Wade, last dance thing, whatever he's doing. But I would say an exciting first half on Saturday. I don't know what you guys think.
It was a good game. It was pretty exciting. It was nice to see Dennis kind of get back into the swing of things. That looked good. Really pushing the ball in transition, and being the offensive player that he is, which is fun to watch. And Mitch starting was also a lot of fun, and actually seeing those two play together and do well was good to see that kind of basketball being played first and foremost. So Mudiay was really good in that game too, mostly in the first half, but that was about it, I think.
The Mudiay stuff. So this is, that game, it couldn't exemplify him more. I thought the first half, I even said it on Twitter, like, this is someone I rarely compliment. Like, even his good games, I typically think it's bad shot selection and just shots going in, and nothing from it is sustainable. But in that first half, he got to the foul line 9 times. He was 8 of 9. I think he had like 18 points on 6 shots, and it was mainly on either taking threes, driving the ball to the basket. And then the other thing I thought he actually did well for once, which is something he struggles with a lot, is he ran the offense decently. Him and Cornette showed some decent chemistry, and he hit him a bunch when he was driving and hitting kickouts with the extra space that was created with having the other 3-point shooter out there. And look, the defense was defense, but offensively, I thought he played a really terrific half. And then the second half, it went right back to it. I mean, even within that first half, there was a little bit of sloppiness with his passing, and that is always going to be there. I just don't think he's an overly careful basketball player. He's loose with the basketball. But then when you add in, when he starts taking bad shots again, he's not aggressive going to the rim. Then he's not taking as many foul shots. The 3-point shots a little bit inconsistent, and then he wasn't running the offense well. And it got to the point where it was so bad that Fizdale pulled him with 3 minutes left in the game for Smith. And Fizdale doesn't want to pull Mudiay. He's given him as much rope as any player on this team.
Right. And I mean, Dennis Smith did not have a great game back and as he returned from injury. But, Mudiay definitely had that. He just had something really, really encouraging going. It's like you're saying, like someone we haven't really seen before, someone we haven't really, been able to compliment like that. And it came down to a lot of it was the free throw shooting. And, just once kind of Cornet started slowing down a little bit, once Mudiay kind of fell out of rhythm, it was just, it just seems like once one thing goes in his game, it all starts to fall apart. But when he has it all tied together, there's actually a pretty productive player in there. Really, when we're getting into it, though, the encouraging part of this evening was Mitchell Robinson, getting out from earlier that David Fizdale is going to be starting Mitchell Robinson for the rest of the season, and it's just DeAndre Jordan's all the way on board, something we didn't see from Enes Kanter. Big points been made about that so far, but I mean, Mitch had another superb game, but as far as his defense was concerned, especially in the first quarter. Nothing was really getting past him. There was that one really nice play. It got waved off with that alley-oop between Mudiay and him, where Mitchell Robinson stole the ball, kind of deflected it up into the air, and then without even really, putting his foot down, he just swatted the ball over to Mudiay, who then threw it back up to him, and Mudiay got fouled on the pass, so the alley-oop was thrown up, was not counted. But I just find new ways to be impressed still every day.
I was told if Mitchell started that it would ruin his rhythm and he wouldn't be good anymore. And we couldn't have him start because of that.
I was interested. I felt like it was kind of a weird game to do it because I was really interested to see how, him matching up with Hassan Whiteside off the bench would have worked out. But they saw plenty of time against each other anyway, so.
And Bam's a really good player. I like Bam better.
I agree. I think he's better, but the offensive challenge against Mitch from Whiteside, I think, would have been an interesting thing to look at.
It's a little different. Like, one's just like you're more getting some post-up touches. With Bam, he has to defend in space a little bit and, cut off passing lanes.
I thought Cornet looked encouraging, too. I thought, really just... He finished with, 17 points, I believe. But...
Oh no, he had a really good game actually. He had 17. I'm trying to pull it up. I think it was 8 rebounds, and then it was 3 assists, 3 steals.
He was nice. He was nice and open. He was just bombing away. I felt like he got into a really good rhythm. He's been playing well in the G League recently. I think he's been able to carry that up.
These are the 2 best centers that have been on the Knicks roster all season.
So all those stats I said were correct, and then he also had 3 blocks. And Robinson's stat line was 9 points, 14 rebounds, 3 steals, 4 blocks, just 4-4 shooting because, of course, the dunks. Cornet shot 5 of 14 from the field, which sounds worse than I remember. Oh, that's probably why.
He's 5 of 12. Every shot for 3.
Yeah, so that's fine. That's what you want. So I don't know. It was good basketball out of them. They play 2 contrasting styles, and it spreads the floor. And it was good to see.
It came down to another just awful third quarter again. They really did look pretty solid. They had a nice lead through the first half. They were up by 12 at halftime, and
No, they
it was 6 by halftime.
Oh,
yeah,
6.
they took the lead and they got the lead up early in the third quarter, and then the Heat kind of took over.
Oh,
from there.
gotcha. That's right. Yeah, but it's just I don't know. It's I'm still encouraged by that. Like, I know that the third quarter has to improve greatly, and we're not kidding ourselves about the roster overhaul that's definitely coming in this offseason either. But I don't know. Just seeing that kind of, I don't know what happens with Luke Cornett after the season, but having Mitchell Robinson in that position and really letting them build some chemistry together, like Fizdale was mentioning too. I mean, that's great to see. Obviously Dennis Smith is getting back from injury, but got to have a lot of eyes on him. I'm really glad to have a couple of last games with him. We did get the news that Frank Ntilikina has been shut down for the rest of the season. And that I feel like is going to have a pretty, a definite impact on where his career heads from here.
Honestly, I don't really think it matters. It's just the season's over. He's going to go into the offseason and do what he was going to do. And him missing or playing 6 games here wouldn't really have changed all that much. Most likely the organization's they're either going to get an offer they'll take for him or they won't. And we'll see. We will see what happens.
I kind of feel like that's probably it for him, but I don't know.
It's kind of wild to me that the Knicks only played 8 players against the Heat, though. Like, even DeAndre Jordan didn't play at all. He didn't even just come off the bench. Like, he was not in that game. I'm sure he's fine with a little bit of rest at the end of this year, honestly.
It's not a coincidence that their defense wasn't a train wreck, and neither Cantor or Jordan played. And it was just Mitch and Cornett the entire game at the center spot. You had an elite rim protector on the court at all times. I would be really comfortable with those two plus a veteran minimum backup that's somewhat capable of playing occasionally, being your three centers next year. I could really live with that.
It's just so encouraging to know that Mitchell Robinson is going to be in this rotation. He's going to be I feel like since the Knicks have started doing their tanking things, other than when Porzingis first came to the team, it just feels like all of these picks have because just from what we've seen on the court, there's been such mixed results in them, and just to see him come out of nowhere and be nearly guaranteed to be their starting center, moving forward. That's, man, I haven't felt this good about a rookie in a long time.
Knox, I thought, played a pretty decent game. He continues, when they get him the ball and he's a little bit on the move, he's showing a little bit more shiftiness to beat guys off the dribble. He finished a couple at the rim. The one spot where he struggled today was when they tried to give him a couple mid-post touches from 12 to 14 feet out, and he tried to ISO and beat his guy to the left, but he had no way to set up his left hand. So it was easy. I don't remember who was guarding him each time, but it was easy for the Heat defender to move his feet, stay in front of him, and he dribbled the ball off his foot and got it stolen, or both times he dribbled it off his foot and turned it out of bounds. So that's another area where he needs to improve. He's comfortable going left, but in a standstill, he has to develop a move so he can get into the left and have the guy on his hip instead of driving straight into someone.
And being completely serious, and I saw a couple of these comps last summer kind of loosely thrown out about him and Durant, but they do have that same way that they play with that frame, and what they're supposed to be good at. And he's got to use that length to his advantage. KD does a lot of the rip throughs, or the way he just kind of swings and uses his body to kind of create the space versus trying to blow by you quickly. He would be wise to kind of look at some of those moves, because he really doesn't have much. He usually hesitates. You see him as soon as they kind of crowd him, he's usually kind of double and triple pumping a little bit, and then he kind of kicks it out, or it's a contested shot. So he would be wise to kind of pick up on a couple of those things.
I mean, the other thing I'm kind of seeing, his field goal percentage is at least going up a little bit in the last couple of games. I think Clyde said something he's been up above 45, I want to say, for a recent stretch. I mean, I don't that's not exactly a great stat to be thrown out there because it's just.
Well,
but
baby steps.
Yeah, he's getting up there a little bit more. I mean, I'm just looking at his field goal percentage from the last couple of games, and he was at like 44% against Miami, went back down to 30, then like 44 again. Then he was up around like almost 60 for a game or two. So it's like, yeah, the consistency again. We've been calling for it all season, but man, he is like just the little things that you can see. How he's comfortable, going left now. Just kind of the shot improving a little bit. Just how he moves on the court. I think you're right, Kyle. It can be groomed into a little bit more of a Durant type fashion. Just kind of slow moving, but just I don't know. Just that footwork in there, I think, could be really beneficial to getting him unlocked a little bit more.
Yeah, he's been 41.4% from the field in March, 43% from three, and 72% from the line. Now, the downside is the 2-point shooting still isn't where you want him to be. So it's 4.5 for 10.9. And with the threes, so, I mean, it's basically, I'm bad at math. It's like 2.4. He's got to be shooting like still under 4. He's still shooting under 40% on his twos, and I am confident he is going to be an above average 3-point shooter for his size. Like he will shoot above 35%, and
I would agree with that. Yeah,
and by the time he's he's going to be a power forward shooting between 35 and 40% from three. Maybe you get lucky and he can even be on the high side of that. But the 2-point percentage is where and how he gets at finishing at the rim is going to determine how high level of a player he can be.
Yeah, I feel like it's just what he tries to do is, he gets into the paint whenever he wants and he can get those floaters off and the shots he wants. But when they force him left or sometimes they apply a little bit of pressure physically, he kind of gets flustered and then throws up a wild shot. So
he just can't take contact.
So I think he's going to be fine, in the long run. And once he starts bulking up a little bit and getting used to it, and really starts learning to go left comfortably, I think it's going to level out. But I think that's why the percentages are so low. He's still trying to figure out how to use his body and get there. But you see the flashes. You see how smooth he could be in transition at his size too. And I'm still very, very high on him despite his struggles. I'm very confident he turns into a good player. But I'm looking to see that stride pretty immediately next year.
A big part of it, I mean, he still seems to I feel like he's still afraid of his free throw shooting. Like he's gotten better as the season has progressed. Like he started off the season really bad, but he's coming back around a little bit more, but he's just still not taking all that many attempts. I mean, he didn't take any versus Miami. He took 4 the game before that, 2 before that, and recently that's kind of picking up a little bit too. He's at like 5 and 6 after that, and his shooting has gotten better. He's 4 for 6 against Utah recently. 4 for 5 after that. It's just he just doesn't look like he wants to try to absorb any contact, or it just ends up being like kind of a floater that goes nowhere, or just. I feel like that's a big way that he could get that field goal percentage up too, is if he cut out some of those, floaters that, just are unaimed basically. He's just trying to throw the shot up and replace that with just getting to the line. I mean, that's going to help his raw numbers a whole lot.
3 attempts in 28.6 minutes per game in March isn't the best, but it's not the worst. Yeah, you get him another 8 minutes and that per 36, that's probably like 3.6, 3.7 per 36. So there's room for improvement there, but I do think he doesn't shy away from contact. Maybe sometimes he even goes straight into it a little too much instead of trying to navigate around the guy. Like there was one play in the Heat game specifically when he used his length to avoid, I forget, whoever was defending the rim, got it around, placed it off the backboard nicely and made the layup. Maybe if he tries to draw contact with his body a little bit and extend and finish rather than just going straight through someone is how could help him get to the foul line even a little bit more.
It's just a nuance in it all. It's just one after he gets off his feet, once he's planning a shot, once he's driving in, it's just a little bit more anticipation on what the defense is going to throw his way and how he can get around that. And I think, largely that still comes with experience. And we know that, in the minutes he's gotten this season and the time that he's played, which has been pretty significant, he's definitely had his struggles. But the more struggles he has, I don't know, it just feels to me the faster he's going to get to that goal of actually being a productive member of this team. All right, before we talk to Mike Cortez is going to come on and join us to talk about the Final Four in a few, but you guys want to take a quick look at the Knicks' upcoming schedule?
Can we sim it?
Yes.
I'm actually, I was just looking at tickets today, and Knicks play in Chicago for the second to last game of the season, and do you know, United Center, New York Knicks versus Chicago Bulls, tickets from $18.
Catch the fever.
Dude,
Because the Bulls are basically sitting their whole team right now.
Oh my God, it's terrible, but I'm just like, fuck it, dude. I'm going to go. I can't wait.
Yeah, you might as well for cheap.
Yeah, I know, right? $18. It's like Section 300, but I don't care. They actually are playing the Bulls tomorrow at MSG, and that is going to be a very interesting matchup of the tank. But at least we have enough separation at this point that won't matter too much.
Can they be caught? Realistically, I haven't even looked at the standings in a minute.
I don't think so. Let me see.
I'm bringing it up right now.
Yeah, Knicks are 14-62. The Cavs are in 14th with 19-58. Bulls are 21-56. So it's highly unlikely that I don't think the Bulls have even a chance to get there. It's highly unlikely the Cavs do. So. And
where can you drop if you get finished second?
If you finish second, I believe you can go down to 6th.
So at this point, I mean, you can root for the Knicks to win games at this point.
Yeah. Listen, the Bulls aren't playing anybody. I know Markkanen's out for the rest of the season. Wendell Carter's been out for a little bit too, right?
Yeah, Otto Porter's out.
Yeah.
Levine, however you pronounce his name, isn't playing. Laurie's out for the season. Their entire roster's basically sitting.
Yeah, Chris Dunn. So that'll be interesting. Is Jaren Grant still on the team?
No, he's on the Magic.
Oh, damn. Magic is just accepting all those washed out point guards now. That's really their solution. They went for Markelle Fultz, they went for Jaren Grant, and they went for Michael Carter-Williams.
And they're about to make the play. They have a legit chance to make the playoffs.
I know, that's the craziest part.
Off recently. They've won.
We'll get a Robin Lopez reunion tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Rolo.
A little Rolo.
Is he still playing?
I don't fucking know. Wow, Denzel Valentine's still on this team?
I think he's been out all season. He's hurt.
He's been hurt a lot.
Yeah, he had knee issues coming out. That's why he dropped in the draft, partially.
Yeah. I liked him a lot in college. Smart player.
As much as I liked him as much as you could for a Michigan State player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we got Bulls. What else is after that? I mean, geez, it's not...
Simulate to end, as Kyle said.
Yeah, we got Bulls twice in there. Magic right after that. Rockets right after that. Wizards after that. Got Bulls again, and then Pistons. So, yeah. I mean, get excited about the other players on these other teams that you want to see, or maybe don't, because they'll probably be sitting anyway. Do we have any news on Trier? Is he out for the season?
I don't think there's been any update, right?
I haven't heard anything. It's strange.
No, hasn't been any updates. They just keep sitting them.
Well, that is where we are with this team right now. We know that you are suffering through it all as well. We're simming to the end as fast as we can, but we got 2 weeks? 2 weeks for the end of the season? Playoff basketball? We can go watch some actual teams play?
Pretty much. Hey, I'm watching this Phillies game, and Bryce Harper just keeps mashing the fucking baseball. And
how'd Brett Gardner do today?
And I think the Yankees left 12 base runners on today. And I mean, he's just moonshots. Just moonshots. Just
Who's the starting pitcher in the Yankees' first 3 games?
Tanaka, Paxton, and then today was Happ.
Oh man, playoff rotation right there.
Right there. Terrifying. Vaunted. It's a good thing that they stayed under salary cap. Wait. Oh yeah. They could have just afforded both.
How's Andujar been so far?
He's been swinging I don't know, not great, but he blew game 2. That was just a brutal at bat to end it. But I don't know.
I hope they have a bad season. I will have so much fun.
He's looked
Why
fine
do you really
mostly.
intend on alienating as many listeners as you can from this podcast?
Oh, I'm gonna be the Yankee season is gonna be the best possible sports season for me. 1, I'm not gonna watch a single pitch. 2, if they lose, I'm gonna have all the fun in the world. 3, if they win, I just don't care.
Yeah, I have that mentality to quite a few teams.
Yeah,
It's the ultimate gas bag.
There's no losing in this scenario for me. I win no matter what.
I'm just trying not to overreact. I always do this. They always suck to start the season. I always get mad. Then they get really, really hot. Everything's fun. Everything's great. And then it levels out. So I'm trying not to go nuts. Like even Gary's, for all his complaints about the pass balls and drop balls issues, but he's actually really good at throwing guys out. And he's bounced 2 of them already. Just really not great throws. And it's like, I'm just going to chalk this shit up to the beginning of it hurts worse. There really shouldn't be an excuse to lose to the Orioles. 2 out of 3. If you lose 1, whatever should happen. But if you lose 2 out of 3 to the Orioles to start the year, this Orioles team, which looks like an auto-generated team, and MLB The Show,
It looks like the Chicago Bulls, basically.
Who's the best player on the Orioles?
I don't know. Mancini looks like a god against us, so I'm going to go with Mancini, just raking.
Like who hits 1, 2, 3 for them?
Still don't know. Watched all 3 games closely. Still don't know. Let me pull it up now, and then we can move on.
No, that's great. No, that is the content I'm here for when it comes to Yankees baseball.
Villar, Smith, Mancini.
Who's Smith?
Oh, to make it worse, Dwight Smith.
I've never even heard of that person.
Of course you haven't heard of Dwight Smith. Of course you haven't heard of Dwight Smith.
Oh, man. All right. Well, that has been your Yankees Oriole update for the beginning of the season. As we know, Bryan Gibberman will be giving Yankees fans grief all summer long, so keep your head up for that. Joining us on the podcast shortly will be Mike Cortez. We're going to get into the Final Four and talk about who he sees winning the whole tournament. So stick with us. Joining us now on the TKW Podcast, we've got the Knicks' own Mike Cortez. What's going on, dude?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good. You've heard him here before. You can follow him at Cortez Era. He brings us everything we need to know on college basketball, especially during this intense period of March. Got a little bit more interesting today, I gotta say. As a keen non-observer, it got even interesting to me now, where Duke has been pushed out of the tournament by Michigan State in a looks to be just an incredibly close game. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, I think just all of Duke's everything bad about Duke just reared its ugly head towards the end. Cam was non-existent. Not sure why Alex O'Connell played 3 minutes. Coach K didn't do much to help Zion or RJ. It was kind of just throw them the ball and see what happens. So I guess one of them will fit in nice with Fizdale. But, I mean, out of the timeout when RJ went to the line, that was just a stupid play. Like, they just threw it to RJ, and he just crashed into the paint. So, I think the formula to beat Duke was there last week. I think Virginia Tech almost did it, and Michigan State was good enough to do it.
I mean, they got really lucky both the last two games
completely.
out. So, I mean, it felt like only a matter of time before the bullshit luck wore off. But it felt like they almost got out of this shit again today. But, yeah.
Yeah, because the previous games they had, I think Trey Jones went off from 3 last game, which is never going to happen again, and it didn't. So I feel like each time they survived, it was just one lucky performance. Like UCF Zion went off from 3. This game, nothing happened their way. Like Zion dominated down low, but RJ was pretty bad down the stretch. Cam, like I said, didn't do anything, and Duke had no shooters.
So Roger Sherman from The Ringer had this. Duke lost 3 games with Zion Williamson in the lineup this year. RJ Barrett went 0 for 9 in the final minute of those 3 games. The rest of the team had 3 total shots. Zion had 1.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds bad, and I think it's more of an indictment on Coach K because there's just no play calls being drawn up. No, like at least throw McConnell into the mix or some type of shooter, because when it's just Zion and RJ, you kind of just play how you would play the Raptors in the playoffs when they had DeRozan and Lowry. Just pack the paint and let them shoot. And that's what happened.
I'm so sick of Cam Reddish. I'm sorry.
I mean, I want to know how bad he was hurt. I still don't know what his injury was. But even when he was in, he's just, I don't know. Like, Duke just doesn't shoot threes, and it's stupid. Like, how do you not have, like, at least 2 bench guys that all they do is just stand in the corner and launch threes?
Yeah, that's bad recruiting. Like, he really should have guys who are spot-up three-point shooters. That's not the hardest thing to find in the world.
Yeah, especially for Duke. Get a transfer if you need.
Coach K stinks.
He really does. I mean, he might have been a good coach, like, when he was coming up. I didn't really see him, but, like, since he's been recruiting one-and-done guys, he doesn't really do much to help them out. It's kind of just, here's the ball and score.
How much of that do you think is, like, on a player's, more on the player side than it is on the coach's side? Because I could just imagine being, like, a one-and-done player and, as soon as they start to see some cracks in the system, like, I'm just going to completely go on my own at that point because it doesn't matter in the long run.
Yeah, it probably varies from player to player, but I get the sense with at least Zion and RJ, and I'm sure Cam's of the same mindset. I think they wanted to learn. Like, I think if Coach K had a system, they would buy into it. Like, they didn't come across as, all right, this is my show for the year, back off. So, like I said, just a couple out of timeout sets, just something.
And, I mean, you look at what Calipari does at Kentucky. He's the opposite of Coach K. He puts guys in very narrow, strict roles, and the one-and-done recruits all go along with that. So I don't see any reason why, if Coach K did develop some sort of offense, that the players wouldn't listen.
Right. Yeah, it makes no sense. It's either he just gave up, and he plays, one thing that hasn't been brought up a lot, he played RJ and Zion a shit ton. RJ played 40 minutes again. I think he averaged close at 35 plus for the season. Since Zion came back, he's played no less than 35 minutes. So it was really just a thin rotation as well.
I talked about that on Twitter a little bit and got some pushback. Honestly, it was kind of disgusting.
Pushback?
Zion right out of the injury, and just like a dude who's in college and not having showing a little bit more hesitation and just going right back to playing him almost 40 minutes a game, coming off someone with his size, coming off a knee injury that I didn't like how he handled that. I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I agree. He could have easily gotten hurt again, but thank God he didn't. But yeah, Coach K treats them just like he knows that they're expiring, so he treats them like it.
I feel like the Zion and all of these potential high lottery picks that are on the Duke team right now, just them being out of the tournament now, especially Zion though, like has got to be such a just a relief to all the NBA teams that are like picking it. The Knicks and the Cavs and the Suns and everyone. Like, it's just like, God, I know as a fan right now, I just feel happy because obviously we have the best shot at Zion, and I just feel like at least he won't get hurt anymore. Now it's just like, the next step for him really is the NBA draft. I think it's going to be really fascinating to see just how the next couple of months play out for him and, his squad as well.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great run too. I mean, I can't remember. I think Anthony Davis, Kentucky was the last time I was that locked into a team, and they just always delivered night in, night out. I mean, this whole tournament, they were kind of just in one-point games, I feel. So they always brought that entertainment value.
It's going to be a fun Final Four too. I like the teams that are in it. You have Michigan State and Auburn play like pretty open, free-flowing basketball. Texas Tech is a ridiculously good defensive team with fantastic athleticism, and then Virginia is Virginia. Yeah, exactly. I think that noise shows that perfectly.
I think the only reason I'm not as happy about the Final Four, like now that I've had time to cool off from Duke losing, this is going to be a good Final Four because I still think the best teams are in it. But, man, we could have had Edwards was really good for Purdue on Saturday. Like, we could have really had Purdue, Kentucky, and then Duke and Culver Part 2. I think that could have been really good. But, I mean, I think Auburn's just as good in terms of, like, the story. So,
we have these 4 teams and everything. Now, which players do you think are going to be like the biggest difference makers? We have Michigan State versus Texas Tech. Who do you think is going to make the difference in that game?
I guess Tillman or Goins, I guess. I mean, Michigan State and Auburn are kind of just like, they still have their top players, but I feel like they're more of like just a team versus like, I don't know. I think all these guys are teams, but I guess like Texas Tech is more of just like it's Culver and that supporting cast. Whereas Michigan State, you could see anyone take the load any night.
The thing about that Michigan State team is like the scoring gets spread out, but everything runs through Winston. Like if he's not the one initiating the offense, they're going to have a lot of trouble. And Texas Tech was able to really do a good job of taking away Simpson in that Sweet 16 game. And and Gonzaga. I don't know about Gonzaga's guard play as much. But like Michigan was a team like that. Like everything is generated around pick and roll and your guards creating and then working off of that. Michigan State's similar. So how Winston adjusts his game to the middle of the court getting taken away from him, I'm interested to see how they do that. And if Winston does get slowed down, if anyone else can step up or if their offense is just going to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, Texas Tech's the hottest team too. I think even now their supporting players are really coming up. Owens had a really good game. I think Moretti, his name is 25 on Texas Tech. He had a good game. So I think that's going to be the better game out of the two. Virginia doesn't really excite me. I hope Auburn beats the living crap out of them.
Owens versus Tillman's going to be fun in the Michigan Texas Tech game. Those are two big guys that can really move. They're like pro NBA modern big men with how they can move, they protect the rim, and then can stay in front of guards.
Yeah, I just really want to watch Culver at this point. I've just been prospect hopping. I have really no strong rooting interest in college basketball. I don't have any hatred either for a lot of teams. So I just want Texas Tech to win it all. I'd like to see more of Culver if possible. That's about it. Just looking forward to that. I'm still going to watch the other games, obviously, but that's got my full attention, as I'm sure it does a lot of other Knicks fans now.
Well, Mike, who are the biggest prospects that are left in the tournament now at this point? I know I'm not super familiar with the rosters, and I guess Kyle at the same point too. We're both looking at prospects, so
Culver for sure, obviously,
right,
and then DeAndre Hunter. He's kind of played his way out of the top 5 in my opinion. I would rather take Brandon Clark for what it's worth. So in terms of Final Four, I would just be looking at Culver. I think Culver's honestly played his way into the conversation for anywhere as high as second right now. Because if you're confident that Kyrie or Kevin Durant are coming, you need somebody that's ready to go from day one. I think Culver's proving to be that type of player.
So everybody's very hard on RJ Barrett, right?
Yeah, it's still overblown, I still think. I'm trying not to at least let recency bias fool me into completely going Culver over Barrett. But, Culver's just been able to fit without forcing the action. Or over-forcing, I should say.
Yeah, because every time we try to bring up RJ Barrett, everybody is displeased. And I think I agree. I think it's overblown. I see a good player in there. I get what the concerns are, but there's no perfect prospects. Everybody's weaknesses kind of get overblown when you're at that level, entering the NBA draft. So I see a good player in there. I think he's going to be fine in the NBA, but I don't know that I'd say Culver over him yet, but I am getting there the more I see of Culver, which is, essentially opting into the recency bias. But I like what I see. I used to feel he was more of just a safer pick, but I think it might be more than that now.
Yeah, he's just so good off the ball. And I feel like RJ, the one thing that RJ is just not good at yet is just like chilling out. Like he has a lot of Westbrook in him.
Sam Vecini had a good RJ Barrett tweet. This is from a couple hours ago. Mm-hmm. This was the ultimate RJ Barrett game from both sides of the spectrum. Guy goes for 21, 6 and 6, made like 3 huge shots in the second half. He also turned it over 7 times, struggled around the basket, and got a little selfish late. That's the finishing thing is the question I have about him, because I've seen some numbers float around and watching him play. Now, he takes some tough attempts, but he's not as good of a finisher around the rim as his reputation would have people think, based on the numbers at least.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those numbers, well, not a lot, but the numbers are skewed because he is, most of the time, he's crashing in and taking contact. So his attempts are awful. Like he has a lot of rust in him in terms of driving to the rim, just getting that tunnel vision, because he's a good passer and he passes when he's not and driving to the hoop. Like when he drives to the hoop, he's gonna score no matter what, like in his mind. So if he misses it, he's gonna keep going up and up and up, and those misses tally up. So I think a lot of those numbers are just from crashing into walls.
So, Mike, I am taking a look now at, you just released the final edition of your draft board on the Knicks on the Knickswall.com. As we all expect, Zion Williamson is still your number one pick in the in this draft board. Nothing really changing there. You do have RJ Barrett at number 2 still.
Yep.
Going up from there, John Morant at number 4. And then we got Jarrett Culver, we got Brandon Clark, Cam Reddish. So like these guys, of all these guys that you have on your list right now, who do you think would be the one person who has like the biggest chance of making that leap that no one's really expecting? Is there anyone really standing out that maybe you think everyone else is sleeping on, but if he were to be drafted highly, that you'd be all in on it?
I would say Clark, because while the people that follow the draft, that's how I found out Clark, while just getting really deep into like draft Twitter and draft Reddit. So they're already wise to Clark, but I feel like people that don't follow as closely will probably be like, who is that guy? But if we get to 5th, because I think the top 4 is what it is. It's Zion, Ja, RJ, Culver, in whatever order you want. Mm-hmm. And then at 5, if you're not really sold on Cam, I think if you are going to swing for somebody, it's either going to be Clark, not for the Knicks case, but in other people's case, Darius Garland. And like I said, DeAndre Hunter just doesn't do it for me. He's good, but he's not great. I don't think he's going to turn into anything special.
Yeah, you have DeAndre Hunter, you have Romeo Langford, you have Darius Garland, Nasir Little, and Rui Hachimura on the bottom of your list as names to keep tabs on. How likely are these guys jumping, into the top 5 at this point, or even top 4? Is it just basically an abstract thought at this point?
Yeah. If like the Bulls and Suns are ahead, like if the order breaks down and it's Suns and Bulls at like 2 and 3, maybe I could see Garland jumping in, because the Bulls kind of need a point guard, as do the Suns. And Garland, I mean, if his medicals look fine, from what we saw from him in the high school, I know it's high school highlights, but he looked like he could score. So I think that's one guy that could jump in. And then I heard the Hawks are really high on Reddish, so if they jump into the top 4, maybe they take Reddish over Culver or Ja. Well, they'll definitely pass on Ja. So that's where it's at. And Jackson Hayes, too, and not for the Knicks again, but he's somebody that I've seen climb a lot.
If the Hawks don't get Zion, I think they got to go Culver in that situation. I think his fit with that team would be fantastic. All All right. Well, it's all coming down to it now. Do you have an idea of who's going to be playing in the championship game?
I want Texas Tech versus Auburn. I wouldn't mind Michigan State Auburn. I just do not want to see Virginia play for that championship. They're just so boring to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go around the horn then. We need a winner. We need our final pick.
Me first? Texas Tech.
Texas Tech
all the way.
Brian?
Yeah.
I'm gonna whoever wins the Michigan State Texas Tech game, but I'm gonna go with Texas Tech.
Kyle, what you got?
I'm going Texas Tech because that defense is terrifying.
I'm sticking by my guns, man. I'm sticking with Michigan State. I'm all about it. I called it from the very start. All right, Mike, before we get you out of here, we have a couple of mailbag questions for you we got earlier today off of Twitter. Kyle's going to fire some of those off for you.
Cool.
Okay, so from our buddy David Futternick, he said, the Knicks are clearly getting the 5th pick because God hates us. Who is the most likely best available pick at 5?
Unfortunately, it's Cam for sure. Then it's DeAndre and Brandon Clark. So those are 3 most likely. And like I said, if a team that needs a point guard jumps the Knicks, maybe Culver slips, maybe Barrett slips, maybe Josh slips. But I think for now, I'll just plan for Cam, Brandon Clark, DeAndre Hunter.
Okay. The next one is, do you think the Knicks should draft Ja Morant if they get the 2nd pick?
All right, so this is an interesting one. If by this time we're assuming the Knicks know whether they're getting Durant. If they don't, I think Ja's an interesting pivot to where, kind of like the Hawks did with Trae Young, where they kind of rebuild around him, and I would not be against it. The one thing that's holding me back is what to do with Dennis Smith, who I've grown to like. I wouldn't be opposed to trying them out, but 2 6'3" guys is not really going to move the needle. But
I'd imagine it wouldn't really work, but I'd really want to see them try it out because I don't want to give up on Dennis just because we got, Ja, who I would be very excited for.
Now, if Dennis is willing to be the 6th man, like if he's like, I'm all about being the 6th man, then more power to it. Take Ja, because Ja's just special. It's going to be hard to pass on him, even if you get the number 1 pick, just because it's like, damn, this guy's really good, but it is what it is.
Okay. Well, just as a show of the RJ love and hate. So somebody says, well, he has a lot to work on. He's an extraordinary passer and scorer, but his decision-making down the stretch was subpar, and his free throw shooting isn't good either, but I still think he'll be a good player at the next level. And then somebody down a couple of replies said, I really hope we don't draft RJ with several vomit emoji faces.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's
we talked ourselves into Kevin. I mean, I like Kevin Knox, but can we talk ourselves into loving Kevin Knox? You're not going to love RJ Barrett, really?
Well, we would have
to draw the line.
Yeah, it's true. We would absolutely do it. Yeah, especially, I mean, what did he have today? 21, 6 and 6, and nobody cared.
Yeah, I mean, there are concerns. Like the concerns are valid. Like he is inefficient, and he does turn the ball over. But I want to see him with shooters. I want to see him in more space. Because in Duke, he was kind of just boxing in a corner. It's like dirty boxing in UFC. It was just, everything was just so close in on him.
Okay, and then the last 2, these are more if you agree or disagree. One's a statement, one's somebody's mock 5 here. Mm-hmm. But so first person just said, Zion is obviously the prize, but the Knicks can't lose if they get a top 3 pick. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. I think I would extend it to 4. I think you get any of that top 4, I think you're happy.
At what point, before we get into the top 5, like Kyle was just saying, like at what point do you think the Knicks get better value for trading that pick? I don't necessarily
value-wise, probably 3 to 4. Okay. I don't think 5, maybe 5, like I said, if the Hawks. But I think the most value is going to get you for the team trying to get Ja or Culver.
Right. Okay.
So, and then, so the last thing then was, how do we feel about his top 5 here? Number 1 is Zion Williamson. So he put 2A and 2B. So his 2 is Culver. His 3 basically is Clark. He says he doesn't care about the age. We need players, not projects.
Interesting.
Four is Morant and 5 is Barrett. I think that's a little low on Barrett, but
Yeah, I see what he's going for. Like I said, Clark's a really good culture fit too. Same with Culver, where they're hard workers. It's not gonna be a lot of drama. I don't think RJ's like that either. And I don't know. I think you can't go wrong, but I would still have Clark below Barrett personally, especially for what the Knicks need. The Knicks need ideally somebody that could shoot from outside. So, yeah, I would. The rest of the board's all right. I'll just swap out Clark for Barrett.
And then I just want to give everybody one fun Cam Reddish stat. So this is from Jonathan Wasserman at NBA Draft Was, and it says Cam Reddish finishes his freshman season at 35% field goal percentage with 70 assists and 96 turnovers.
Gross. I just don't get it with him. He's an enigma. Like, I don't get it. He's had the shot attempts. He's even had the spit. Like, he's also had times where it's just him and RJ or him and Zion, and still nothing.
Do you buy into it's RJ? Like, I know that Zion missed time and everything, but do you buy into they really overshadowed him too much and he wasn't able to create, or was it not enough long enough stretch for him to get into a rhythm maybe? Because I've seen the tapes that everybody was high on, and I can see why people would be high on him, but how much of that do you think is true?
A little bit maybe. The only thing I could think of is back to Coach K, where maybe drop some plays where Cam's just catching and shooting. Most of Duke's stuff was like playground ball, where it was just RJ or Zion initiated or Trey Jones, and either they got to the rim or they kicked it out. And I mean, Cam could have easily just stood in the corner and launched threes, but even when he didn't, he wasn't really doing anything getting to the rim. He didn't really have a good post move. I can't tell you anything. Like, I can't tell you a signature Cam moment outside of that shot against Florida State.
Well, a lot of questions left to still be answered from here, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to bring Mike back on at the end of the tournament and do a little recap and everything. You can hit us with your most exciting points and everything.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Make sure you're all following Mike at Cortez Era. Final edition of his draft board just came out the other day. Go give that a read. Some more in-depth analysis on that. And yeah, check out everything else he has coming out on thenixwall.com too. Always a pleasure, dude.
Likewise. Have a good night, guys.
All right, take care.
Just take it easy.
Talk to you later, Mike.
Man.
Thanks again to Mike for joining us on that segment. Before we get out of here, just want to remind everyone to please head to thenixwall.com. Please give us all those subscriptions and reviews and all the stars, as many stars as you can muster for us, please. We need them. Thank you to Kyle and Brian, as always, and we will talk to you all. What's today? Sunday? We'll talk to you all on Wednesday.